Following story is a translated and adapted conversation, recounting supernatural experiences from around the world. This content is intended for entertainment purposes only. Listen with an open mind and enjoy the thrill of the unknown. The content in this video is purely for entertainment. Viewer discretion is advised. If you are easily frightened, be prepared some stories might just send chills down your spine. If you're ready, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and immerse yourself in the world of the unexplained. Footsteps around the camp. The air was thick with humidity as the group of friends made their way through the dense jungles of Thailand's Khao Sok National Park. Lush greenery surrounded them, ancient trees towering above, their canopies almost blotting out the sky. The sun's rays struggled to break through the leaves, casting dappled shadows that danced on the forest floor. Leading the way was Tun, the adventurer of the group, his backpack heavy with camping gear. He was always seeking the next thrill, the next uncharted path. Beside him was Mint, her camera constantly clicking as she documented every beautiful flower, every twisting vine. Her curiosity knew no bounds, always eager to capture the unknown. Behind them trudged Beam, his eyes constantly shifting as if expecting something to jump out from the undergrowth. He was the cautious one, a skeptic who never fully trusted the jungle's serenity. Bringing up the rear was Fa, her cheerful demeanor keeping the group's spirits high, even as exhaustion began to set in. This trip was supposed to be a simple adventure, 3 days of camping, exploring, and escaping the city's chaos. None of them expected it to turn into a nightmare they would never forget. They found the perfect spot just as the sun began to dip below the horizon, a small clearing surrounded by towering trees, their twisted branches almost reaching out to embrace each other overhead. The air was cool, carrying the scent of damp earth and blooming orchids. They pitched their tents quickly, their laughter echoing through the jungle as they joked about ghost stories and local legends. A fire was lit, its orange glow casting long shadows across the clearing. They cooked instant noodles, shared snacks, and laughed about the silly rumors they had heard before coming. "I heard people get lost here and never come back," Beam said, trying to sound nonchalant but failing to hide his unease. Far rolled her eyes. "Stop trying to scare us. It's just a jungle, not some haunted house." Tun grinned, his adventurous spirit unfazed. "Well, some locals say they hear footsteps around their camps at night, but when they check, there's no one there. Not even footprints." Mint shuddered, the shadows from the firelight seeming to move closer. "That's just a story, right?" Tun shrugged. "Who knows? This jungle is ancient. Who's to say what's hiding out there?" They laughed it off, brushing it away as just another campfire tale. But as the night wore on, the jungle grew colder, the darkness pressing in around them. It started softly, barely audible over the crackling of the fire. A faint crunching sound, like leaves being stepped on. Mint was the first to notice, her head snapped up, her eyes scanning the darkness. "Did you hear that?" Beam's face turned pale. "It's probably just an animal, right?" Tun stood up, his flashlight cutting through the night. The beam of light danced over the trees, revealing nothing but stillness. No animals, no movement. But the sound continued, slow, deliberate footsteps circling their camp. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Fa's voice trembled, her bravado from earlier gone. "Who's out there? Show yourself." Silence. Then, the footsteps continued, this time faster, as if something was running around them, just beyond the firelight. Tun took a step forward, his light scanning the ground. But no matter where he looked, the footsteps seemed to stay one step ahead, always out of reach. Mint's voice was barely a whisper. "It's like it's playing with us." Beam clutched his flashlight tighter, his hands shaking. This isn't normal." The footsteps grew louder, circling faster, closer. The air grew cold, a chill that seeped into their bones. Fa whimpered, her eyes wide with fear. "This isn't funny anymore. Stop it." The sound stopped. Just like that, the footsteps ceased, leaving only the crackling of the fire and the rustling of leaves. The group huddled together, their eyes scanning the darkness, waiting for something to emerge. But nothing came. Tun forced a laugh, his voice shaky. "It's just our imagination. We're tired, that's all." No one believed him. They retreated to their tents, zipping them up tightly, hoping for the safety of thin fabric walls. The fire was left burning, its light flickering against the tent's surfaces. Inside his tent, Beam lay awake, his heart pounding in his chest. Every rustle, Every whisper of wind made him jump. The footsteps had sounded so real, so close. He squeezed his eyes shut, willing himself to sleep. But just as he was drifting off, crunch, crunch, crunch. The footsteps were back, this time right outside his tent. Slow, deliberate, pacing back and forth. He held his breath, his body frozen in terror. The footsteps moved around his tent, circling, stopping right behind his head. He could hear breathing, soft and ragged, just inches away from him. His heart raced, his mind screaming to run, but his body refused to move. Then, a whisper, a low, hoarse voice, just outside the fabric. "Let me in." Beam's blood ran cold. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The footsteps moved away, fading into the jungle, leaving only silence behind. Morning could not come fast enough. The sun finally rose, its golden light filtering through the dense canopy, painting the clearing in soft hues. But no warmth could chase away the cold fear that lingered among the friends. Beam emerged from his tent, his face pale, dark circles under his eyes. His hands trembled as he unzipped the entrance, his body stiff from lying motionless all night. He wasn't alone in his unease. The others looked just as shaken. Tun was the first to break the tense silence. Did anyone else hear it? Mint hugged herself, her voice barely above a whisper. The footsteps, they were real. They were right outside my tent. Fuz's eyes were wide, her hands clutching her backpack tightly. I heard someone breathing right behind me, but when I looked, no one was there. Beam's voice cracked, his body shivering despite the morning warmth. It had asked to come in. It was outside my tent, whispering. Tun's face went pale. That wasn't just an animal. No way. Mint scanned the ground, her eyes sharp. If someone was walking around, there should be footprints. They all looked down. The ground around their tents was soft, a mix of dirt and fallen leaves. If anyone had walked there, the marks would be obvious. But there was nothing. The soil was undisturbed, the leaves still in place. It was as if no one had been there at all. Fuz's voice wavered. This isn't possible. We all heard it. We all felt it. Tun clenched his fists, his shoulders tense. We need to find out what's going on. There has to be an explanation. Determined to uncover the truth, the group made their way to a nearby village they had passed earlier. It was a small settlement, nestled at the edge of the jungle, its wooden houses weathered by time. The villagers watched them with weary eyes, their faces solemn. When Tun approached an elderly man sitting by his porch, he hesitated before speaking. "Excuse me, sir. Last night we heard footsteps around our camp. But there were no footprints this morning. Do you know anything about that?" The man's expression darkened. His eyes flicked towards the jungle, his lips pressing into a thin line. "You camped in the clearing," Tun nodded. "Yes. Why? Is something wrong with that place?" The old man sighed, his voice heavy with sorrow. "That clearing, it is cursed. Long ago, it was the site of a tragedy. A young man lost his life there, betrayed by his closest friends. They left him to die alone in the jungle." Mint shivered. "That's horrible, but what does that have to do with the footsteps?" The man's eyes grew distant, as if recalling a painful memory. "His spirit still wanders, searching for those who abandoned him. It circles the camps, seeking a way and longing for company, for revenge." Fuz's face turned pale, so the footsteps, they were his. The man nodded slowly. He was left outside, in the dark, cold, and alone. Now, he walks in circles, always just outside the light. He asks to come in, but no one should ever answer him. If you do, you will join him forever. Beam's knees buckled, his voice shaking. It had spoke to me. It asked to come in. The old man's face grew grave. "You must leave this place, before night falls again. If you hear him twice, you will never leave." Back at the camp, panic set in. Mint began packing her things, her movements frantic. "We need to go, now. I'm not staying another night here." Fa agreed, her hands trembling as she gathered her gear. That man sounded serious. We can't take any chances. But Tun was stubborn, his adventurous spirit unwilling to surrender. "It's just a legend, a story to scare people. We're almost at the peak. We can't just leave." Beam's face was pale, his eyes haunted. "It talked to me, Tun. It was right behind me. What if ... what if it comes back tonight?" Tun hesitated, torn between pride and fear. "Look, if it happens again, we'll leave first thing in the morning. But we've come this far. Just one more night." Mint looked at him, disbelief in her eyes. You're willing to risk all our lives just to reach the peak? Tun's jaw tightened. We stick together. Nothing will happen. I won't let anything happen to you guys. Fo's shoulders slumped, her fear battling her loyalty to her friends. Fine. But the moment we hear anything tonight, we leave. No arguments. Reluctantly, they agreed, their bond stronger than their fear. They rebuilt the fire, making it larger, brighter, hoping its light would keep the darkness at bay. But the shadows seemed to stretch longer as the sun sank behind the mountains. The jungle grew quiet, and naturally so. Not even the insects dared to sing. They huddled close to the fire, eyes wide, ears straining for any sound. The footsteps returned as the last light of day faded, slow, deliberate circling once more. Crunch, crunch, crunch. This time, they were louder, closer. The friends gripped each other's hands, their breaths shallow, their bodies frozen in fear. They dared not move. They dared not breathe. For if they did, it might just let itself in. The jungle was suffocatingly silent. Even the wind seemed to have abandoned them, leaving the clearing shrouded in an oppressive stillness. The only sound was the relentless circling of footsteps around their camp. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The noise was steady, deliberate, pacing just outside the ring of firelight. The shadows danced, flickering wildly as if trying to reveal the presence lurking beyond. Mint's hands clamped over her mouth, her body trembling. Beside her, Fo's eyes were wide with terror, tears streaming silently down her face. Tun sat rigid, gripping his flashlight so tightly his knuckles were white. Beam was the worst. He was pale, his face glistening with cold sweat. His eyes were fixed on his tent, his voice a hoarse whisper. It's waiting outside my tent. It knows I heard it. Tun shook his head, his voice cracking. No, it's just a story. It's all in our heads, just our imagination. But the footsteps continued, steady and patient, circling, circling. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Mint's breath hitched. Why is it only walking around? Why doesn't it just come in? Beam's face was stricken, his eyes hollow. It had asked to come in. Last night it asked me. Fo's hand shot to her mouth, stifling a sob. No, the old man said if it asks twice you're trapped. Tun's voice wavered, trying to sound brave but failing. We'll stay awake. We just have to make it to morning. It can't do anything if we don't answer right. No one could answer. No one dared to hope. The footsteps never stopped. They continued throughout the night, circling the camp with the same haunting rhythm, slow and hurried, as if whatever was out there had all the time in the world. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Tun's eyes were bloodshot, his body tense. He kept the flashlight pointed at the darkness, scanning the perimeter of their camp. But there was nothing to see, only shadows, only darkness. Mint began to rock back and forth, her mind fraying. Why won't it go away? Why won't it leave us alone? Fa hugged her knees, her voice a broken whisper. It's looking for a way, and it's waiting for one of us to let it in. Beam's face was pale as a corpse. I don't think I can make it. It knows me, it knows my name. Tun grabbed his shoulder, his grip firm. No one's answering it. No one's leaving this circle. We're safe as long as we stay together. As if mocking his words, the footsteps grew louder, closing in on the edge of the firelight. For a brief moment, a shadow passed just beyond their sight, too fast to see clearly. Mint screamed, burying her face in her hands. It's right there. I saw it. It's watching us. Tun aimed his flashlight, the beam slicing through the darkness, but there was nothing. The jungle stood still, the trees unmoving, their branches untouched by wind. Yet the footsteps persisted, circling, closer and closer. Beam began to shiver uncontrollably, his body convulsing with fear. It's calling me again. It's outside my tent. Tun's eyes widened. No, don't listen. Don't listen to it, Beam. But Beam's face went slack, his eyes unfocused. His lips moved, whispering words no one could hear. Fa screamed, shaking his shoulders. Beam, snap out of it. Don't answer. Don't you dare answer it. But Beam was gone. His mind was somewhere far away, drawn by the voice only he could hear. He began to rise, his movements stiff and unnatural, like a puppet on strings. Tun tackled him, pinning him to the ground. No, you're not going anywhere. Beam thrashed wildly, his eyes rolling back, his mouth opening in a silent scream. The air grew cold, freezing cold, and the fire dimmed, the flames flickering as if choked by an unseen force. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then, from behind Beam's tent, a whisper. Soft, pleading, achingly sad. "Let me in, it's so cold, please let me in." The voice was fragile, broken, the voice of a lost soul. Beam's eyes snapped open, his voice breaking. It's my brother, he's calling me, he's out there." Mint sobbed, her hands shaking. No, it's lying. It's using his voice, don't listen." But Beam struggled harder, his face twisted in anguish. "He's cold, he's scared, I have to help him." Tun's grip tightened. "Beam, it's not real, it's not him." The whisper grew louder, more desperate. "Brother, I'm cold, please, I'm so cold." The fire flickered, almost dying out. A shadow moved behind Beam's tent, its form vague and shifting, like smoke caught in the wind. It reached out, its long fingers brushing the edge of the fabric. The air grew colder, their breaths fogging in front of them. The shadow moved closer, its face coming into view. Hollow eyes, a mouth twisted into an anguished scream. Mint screamed, her voice piercing the night. "No, get away from him." But the shadow continued to reach for Beam, its fingers stretching, longing, desperate. Beam's voice broke, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, I left you, I'm so sorry." The shadow's mouth moved, its whisper echoing in their ears. You left me to die, now you will stay with me forever." The fire died. Darkness engulfed them. The last thing they heard was Beam's scream and the footsteps resuming their circle. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Darkness swallowed the clearing, suffocating and cold. The fire was dead, leaving only the faint glow of their flashlights. The footsteps resumed, steady and mocking. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Beam's scream hung in the air, his body limp and cold, his eyes empty. Whatever had called to him had taken his soul, leaving only an empty shell behind. Tun shook Beam's lifeless form, his voice breaking. No, come back, Beam, wake up." Mint backed away, her face pale, her hands trembling. This is a nightmare, we need to get out of here, we need to leave now." Fuzz's voice was hollow, her eyes staring at the shadowy figure moving just beyond the light. "It's not going to let us go, it wants us all." The shadow circled, its form twisting and bending, stretching long fingers that dragged along the ground. Its hollow eyes were fixed on them, filled with hunger and sorrow. Mint turned to run, but Tun grabbed her arm, his grip firm. "No, we can't run. If we separate, it'll pick us off one by one." Mint's eyes were wide with terror. "Then what do we do?" "Just wait here until it takes us to." Tun's jaw tightened. "We survive. We see the morning. We don't listen. We don't answer. We don't let it in." They huddled together, their backs pressed against one another, their flashlights aimed at the darkness. The footsteps continued, circling closer and closer. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The shadow's form shifted, growing taller, more distorted, its limbs impossibly long. It moved behind Tun, whispering softly. "Tun, help me, I'm lost, I'm so cold." Tun's body went rigid, his eyes wide with fear. He recognized the voice. It was his father's. His hands began to shake, his flashlight slipping from his grip. No, it can't be." Mint grabbed his arm, her voice firm. "Tun, it's lying, it's not him." But the whisper grew more desperate, more familiar. "Tun, don't leave me, I'm so alone, please." Tears welled in Tun's eyes, his face twisted in pain. "I didn't get to say goodbye, I left him alone." Fa shouted, her voice breaking. "Tun, look at me, it's not real. It's just trying to get in your head." The shadow's face shifted, taking the form of Tun's father, his eyes empty, his mouth pleading. "Son, don't leave me again." Tun sobbed, his legs buckling. "Dad, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Mint slapped him hard. "Wake up, it's not him. If you listen, it'll take you to." The shadow's face twisted into a cruel smile, its hollow eyes narrowing. It whispered one last time, its voice cold and hollow. "You left me, you'll leave them too, just like you left me." Tun screamed, his hands clutching his head. But he didn't answer, he didn't move. The shadow hissed, its form breaking apart, melting back into the darkness. The footsteps resumed, pacing around the camp, slower this time, angrier. The night dragged on, each minute an eternity. The shadows grew restless, circling closer and closer, their whispers echoing through the darkness. Mint held onto Fa, both of them trembling. It's not going to stop, it's going to keep trying until one of us breaks. Fa's eyes were hollow, her voice empty. It's feeding on us, on our fear, on our pain. Tun's voice was hoarse, his face pale. We have to make it to sunrise, that's the only way. The footsteps grew louder, more aggressive. The shadows moved faster, their forms twisting into grotesque shapes, mouths wide with silent screams. They tightened their circle, flashlights aimed at the darkness. But the batteries were dying, the light growing dimmer. Crunch, crunch, crunch. A whisper came from behind Fa, soft and sorrowful. Fa, help me, it hurts, please. Fa froze, her eyes widening. No, it can't be. Min's face went pale. Fa, who is it? Fa's voice was a broken whisper. My sister, she died last year, she's calling me. The shadow moved closer, taking the shape of a young girl, her face twisted with pain. Her voice was weak, trembling. Sister, it hurts, please don't leave me. Fa's body shook, her hands reaching out. I didn't get to say goodbye, I couldn't save her. Tun grabbed her, pulling her back. No, it's not her, don't listen. The shadow's face twisted into a sinister grin, its eyes hollow and black. Its voice grew darker, colder. You let me die, you left me alone, now it's your turn. Fa screamed, her mind breaking. But Tun held her tight, refusing to let go. Don't listen, don't let it in. The shadow hissed, its form shattering into smoke, retreating into the darkness. The footsteps continued, circling. The first light of dawn pierced through the trees, washing over the clearing. The shadows hissed, recoiling from the light, their twisted forms unraveling, fading away. The footsteps stopped, the whispers died. They were alone. Tun collapsed to his knees, his body shaking. Min sobbed, her face buried in her hands. Fa was silent, her eyes vacant. Beam's body lay cold and still, his face frozen in terror. They staggered out of the clearing, leaving their tents and supplies behind. They didn't look back. They couldn't. As the sun rose, the clearing was bathed in light, chasing away the last of the darkness. But on the ground, circling the abandoned tents, were footprints. Deep, impossibly large footprints. They circled the camp over and in the dirt, beside Beam's tent, where words scratched into the earth. I asked, you didn't answer, I'll come again. The wind rustled through the trees, a soft whisper that faded into the distance. The forest was silent once more. The girl in the forest. There's a story whispered among the locals of a remote village in northern Thailand. A story about a girl who wanders the edge of the forest, her face pale, her eyes hollow, her white dress fluttering even when the air is still. Those who see her never find her again. Some say she was lost long ago, searching for her parents who never came back. Others believe she's a spirit, forever bound to the forest, waiting for someone to join her. It was supposed to be just another weekend adventure. A chance to escape the noise of the city and breathe in the fresh mountain air. For friends eager to explore the untouched beauty of northern Thailand, packed their gear and set off. Tun, the leader of the group, was always the one to plan the trips. Adventurous and bold, he thrived on the thrill of discovering the unknown. Beside him was Mint, his childhood friend, with the camera always hanging around her neck, ready to capture every moment. Beam, the joker of the group, was never without a smile, his laughter echoing through the trees as they hiked up the rugged trails. And then there was Fa, quiet and sensitive, her eyes wide with curiosity, always listening to the whispers of the wind. Their destination was a hidden valley, known only to a few locals, untouched by tourists. It was said to be breathtakingly beautiful, surrounded by ancient trees that stretched up to the sky. But to get there, they had to pass through the forest. The same forest the villagers warned them about. They arrived at the edge of the forest by late afternoon, the sun hanging low, casting long shadows across the ground. The trees were tall and twisted, their branches reaching out like skeletal arms. The air was cool, a faint breeze carrying the scent of earth and leaves. Tun looked over his map, his brow furrowed. This is the quickest way. If we go through the forest, we'll reach the valley before nightfall. Beam grinned, throwing his arm around Mint. What's the matter, Mint? Scared of the dark? Mint rolled her eyes, shoving him playfully. Shut up. I'm more worried about getting lost with you leading the way. Fa's eyes were fixed on the forest, her expression uneasy. Did you hear what the old man said? About the girl, Tun waved his hand dismissively. Just a ghost story. You know how villagers are. They like to scare tourists. Fuzz's voice was a whisper. He said she only shows herself to those who are lost or lonely. A chill ran down Mint's spine, but she forced a laugh. Well, good thing we're together, right? No one's getting lost. They gathered their bags, checked their gear, and stepped into the forest. The light dimmed as they walked deeper, the canopy above blocking out the sun. Shadows danced along the ground, shifting with the breeze. The forest was silent, unnaturally so, no birds, no insects. Just the sound of their footsteps crunching on the fallen leaves. Min took pictures, her camera clicking softly. But each time she looked at the screen, the photos seemed darker than they should be, the shadows longer, the trees more twisted. She frowned, shaking her head. Must be the lighting, she mumbled. Beam was the first to notice it. He stopped suddenly, his face pale. Hey, did you hear that? They all froze, listening, but there was nothing. Just the rustling of the leaves. Tun smirked, trying to scare us, huh? Beam shook his head, his voice trembling. No, I heard someone laughing. They glanced at each other, unease settling in. But Tun laughed, brushing it off. Must have been the wind. Come on, let's keep moving. Fa hesitated, her eyes scanning the trees. For a moment, she thought she saw something, a figure standing far off, just at the edge of her vision. But when she blinked, it was gone. She shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. Maybe we should hurry. They continued on, the shadows growing thicker, the light fading. The air grew colder, heavier, as if the forest itself was watching them. And then they saw her. A little girl, standing at the edge of a clearing, her back turned to them. Her hair was long and black, tangled and wild. She wore a white dress, stained and torn. Her bare feet were covered in dirt, motionless on the forest floor. Mint's breath caught in her throat. Is she lost? Tun stepped forward, his voice gentle. Hey, are you okay? The girl didn't move, didn't turn around. She just stood there, staring into the trees. Beam swallowed, his voice shaking. Where are her parents? Fuzz's face went pale. No, this can't be. Tun took another step. Little girl, are you lost? Do you need help? The girl's head tilted slightly, her hair falling over her shoulder. Her body was unnaturally stiff, her limbs motionless. The air grew colder, a chill running down their spines. The shadows around the clearing seemed to close in, the trees bending closer, their branches creaking. And then, without warning, the girl turned. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow, empty sockets staring straight at them. Her mouth hung open, twisted into a silent scream. Mint dropped her camera, her hands trembling. Beam stumbled back, his face white with fear. Tun stood frozen, his eyes wide with horror. Fuzz's voice was a whisper, barely audible. The lost girl, she's real. The girl's head tilted further, an unnatural angle that defied reason. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out, yet they could hear her voice. Echoing in their minds, why didn't you help me? The wind howled, cold and sharp, swirling around them. The shadows danced, the trees groaned. The girl's form began to fade, her body dissolving into mist, her hollow eyes still fixed on them. And then she was gone. The forest was silent once more. But the chill remained, a lingering cold that seeped into their bones. Tun's voice was shaky, his eyes still on the spot where she had stood. What was that? Fuzz's eyes were wide, tears streaming down her face. We shouldn't be here, we need to leave now. But the forest had other plans. The shadows began to move, twisting and bending, forming shapes, faces, hollow eyes staring from the darkness. And the laughter began. Soft, distant, echoing through the trees, a child's laughter. The laughter echoed through the trees, a haunting melody that sent chills down their spines. It seemed to come from all directions, circling them, taunting them. Tun's voice broke through the cold air, firm and steady. We're leaving, now. Nobody argued. They turned and ran, their footsteps crunching over fallen leaves, branches clawing at their clothes. The trees seemed to close in, their twisted limbs reaching out like fingers trying to pull them back. Mint's heart pounded in her chest, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She clutched her camera tightly, refusing to leave it behind. She tried not to look back, but curiosity got the better of her. She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes widening in horror. The shadows were moving, gliding across the ground, their shapes shifting, forming figures vague, human-like silhouettes with hollow eyes, just like the girl. They followed in silence, their faces contorted, their mouths open in silent screams. Mint stumbled, letting out a gasp. Beam grabbed her arm, pulling her forward. "Don't stop. Keep running." Tun led the way, his eyes fixed on the faint path ahead. "We just need to get out of the forest. Once we're out, we'll be safe." Fuzz's face was pale, her expression distant. Her eyes darted from shadow to shadow, as if seeing things the others couldn't. Her lips moved silently, whispering words no one could hear. She looked back at the shadows, her eyes wide with fear. "They're following us." Tun gritted his teeth, refusing to look back. "Just keep moving, we are almost there." The trees grew denser, their branches intertwining above, blocking out the light. The air was cold, heavy, suffocating. The laughter grew louder, echoing around them, mocking them. And then they heard it. A voice, faint and distant, carried by the wind. A child's voice, soft and mournful. "Don't leave me." Mint's blood ran cold, her legs trembling. Did you hear that?" Beam's face was pale, his eyes wide with terror. "It's her, the girl." Fa stopped suddenly, her body rigid. Her eyes stared into the darkness, her voice a whisper. "She's right there." They followed her gaze, their hearts pounding. The girl stood among the trees, her white dress tattered and stained, her hair hanging over her face. Her hollow eyes stared at them, her head tilted at an unnatural angle. Her lips moved, her voice echoing through the forest. "Why didn't you help me?" Beam screamed, stumbling backward. "She's not real. She's not real." Tun grabbed his arm, his grip tight. "Snap out of it, we have to go." But Fa didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the girl, her body trembling. "She's lonely, she wants someone to stay with her." Tun shook her, his voice sharp. "Fa, don't listen to her, it's a trap." Fa's eyes flickered, the trance breaking. She looked at Tun, her face pale. "I can't, she's calling me." Tun's eyes darkened. He grabbed her arm, pulling her forward. "No, we're leaving together." The girl's face twisted, her mouth stretching wide, an unnatural grin that sent shivers down their spines. Her body began to contort, her limbs bending in impossible angles. Her voice grew louder, more desperate. "Don't leave me." The shadows surged forward, the air growing colder, the trees creaking as if they were alive. The ground seemed to shift beneath their feet, the path twisting, leading them deeper into the forest. Mint's eyes filled with tears. We're lost." Tun gritted his teeth, his fists clenched. "No, we're getting out of here, no matter what." He tightened his grip on Fa's arm, his eyes blazing with determination. "We're not leaving anyone behind." The girl's laughter echoed around them, mocking them. The shadows danced, their hollow eyes watching, waiting. And the forest whispered, its voice cold and cruel. "You can never leave." The wind howled, the trees groaned, and the shadows closed in. The forest seemed alive, its branches twisting and creaking, their shadows clawing at the ground. The air was heavy, cold, and the laughter echoed around them, playful and cruel. Tun led the way, his jaw clenched, eyes scanning the darkness. He kept a firm grip on Fa's arm, refusing to let her fall behind. Beam stayed close, his face pale, his body trembling. Mint followed, her camera clutched tightly, her eyes wide with fear. The path was gone. No matter which direction they ran, the trees closed in, blocking their escape. It was as if the forest itself was leading them deeper, pulling them closer to the source of the laughter. Mint's voice shook, her breath coming in gasps. We're trapped, it won't let us leave." Tun didn't answer, his mind raced, searching for a way out. But every direction looked the same: twisted branches, endless shadows, and that chilling laughter. Fa's head hung low, her hair covering her face. Her body moved stiffly, as if weighed down by an invisible force. Her lips moved, whispering words no one could hear. Tun shook her gently. "Fa, look at me. Stay with us." Her eyes flickered, her voice distant. "She's so sad, she's calling me, she wants me to stay." Mint's eyes widened in horror. "No, don't listen to her, it's a trick." Bean's voice was hoarse, his body trembling. "I can still hear her, that voice, it's inside my head." Tun's fists clenched, his voice firm. "Ignore it, keep moving, don't let her get to you." But the shadows were closer now, their shapes twisting, forming figures with hollow eyes. They watched in silence, their faces contorted, their mouths open in silent screams. Mint's camera beeped, the battery flashing red. She raised it hesitantly, her hands shaking. She clicked the shutter, the flash illuminating the darkness for a split second. She froze, her body stiff. Her eyes widened, her face draining of color. Oh no. Beam grabbed her shoulder, his voice panicked. What is it? What did you see? Mint's hands trembled as she showed them the screen. The photo was blurred, but they could clearly see the shadows twisted, human-like figures surrounding them, their hollow eyes glowing. And in the center, the girl stood among the trees, her face twisted into a sinister grin, her hollow eyes staring. Directly at the camera, Tun's heart skipped a beat. She's watching us. The girl's voice echoed around them, soft and mournful. Why didn't you save me? The trees groaned, their branches bending, reaching toward them. The air grew colder, the shadows inching closer. Fuzz's body jerked, her head snapping up. Her eyes were wide, her pupils dilated. She looked at Tun, her voice hollow. She's right behind you. Tun spun around, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. But there was nothing there, just trees and shadows. He turned back to Fa, his heart racing. There's nothing. We're getting out of here, now. Fuzz's body went limp, her knees buckling. Tun caught her, his eyes wide with fear. Fa, stay with me. Her eyes rolled back, her voice a whisper. She's inside me, she wants my body. Beam stumbled backward, his face pale. No, this can't be happening. The girl's laughter echoed around them, the sound chilling and cruel. The shadows moved, closing in, their hollow eyes glowing with malice. Tun's voice was sharp, commanding. We're leaving. We stick together, no matter what. Come on. He pulled Fa to her feet, supporting her weight. Mint followed, tears streaming down her face, her body trembling. Beam stumbled after them, his eyes darting around, his breathing ragged. The shadows parted, revealing a narrow path. It seemed to stretch endlessly, winding deeper into the forest. Tun's jaw tightened. It was the only way forward. Stay close, don't look back. They walked in silence, the laughter fading, replaced by a chilling whisper. You can't leave, you belong to me now. The girl's voice was soft, echoing through the trees. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Mint's fingers tightened around her camera. She raised it again, her hands shaking. The flash illuminated the path, and her heart stopped. The girl stood in the middle of the trail, her white dress stained, her hair hanging over her face, her head tilted, her hollow eyes glowing. Mint let out a scream, stumbling backward. She's right there. Tun's eyes widened, his grip tightening on Fa. Run, don't look back, just run. They sprinted down the path, their footsteps echoing through the darkness. The girl's voice followed them, cold and mournful. Don't leave me, stay with me forever. The shadows moved, dancing around them, their hollow eyes watching, waiting. The path twisted, the trees closing in, their branches reaching out. The air grew colder, the darkness suffocating. Mint's vision blurred, her legs growing weak. Her camera slipped from her hands, falling to the ground. She glanced back, her heart stopping. The girl was behind them, her twisted form gliding across the ground, her hollow eyes locked on them. Her mouth opened, her voice echoing through the forest. You can't escape your mind. Tun tightened his grip on Fa, his voice desperate. Keep running, we're almost there. But the shadows were faster, their hollow eyes glowing, their twisted shapes closing in. The laughter grew louder, echoing around them. The forest seemed to shift, the path disappearing, the trees towering above, blocking out the light. And then everything went black. Darkness swallowed them whole. Silence wrapped around the group, cold and suffocating. There was no path, no sky, no escape, only shadows, twisting and turning, watching them with hollow eyes. Tun's voice broke through the void, sharp and desperate. Beam, Mint, where are you? His grip on Fa was slipping. Her body was cold, her eyes half closed, her lips moving silently. She was fading, her spirit being pulled away. Mint's voice came from somewhere to his left, trembling and broken. I'm here, but where is this place? Beam's sobs echoed softly. It's over, we're never getting out, she's trapped us. The girl's voice surrounded them, gentle and mournful, coming from every direction. You stayed with me just like they did. Shapes moved in the shadows. Figures began to emerge, faint outlines of people. their faces twisted with sorrow, their eyes hollow and empty. Min's eyes widened, her body trembling. No, it can't be. The figures were all ages: men, women, children. Their faces were pale, their bodies transparent. Their lips moved, but no sound came out. Tun's heart sank. The lost campers, all the people who went missing, they're still here. Fa's voice was a whisper, her eyes distant. They never left, she kept them, she made them stay. Beam stumbled backward, his eyes filled with terror. No, I don't want to be one of them. I don't want to be trapped here. The girl's figure appeared before them, her white dress stained, her hair hanging over her face. She looked up slowly, revealing hollow eyes filled with sorrow. You'll stay with me forever. Tun's jaw tightened. He pulled Fa closer, his eyes locked on the girl. Why are you doing this? The girl's face twisted, her mouth opening, her voice echoing with pain. I waited, but no one came. I was all alone, so lonely. I don't want to be alone. Min's voice broke. You were left behind. The girl's form flickered, her face contorting with grief. They forgot me, they moved on. I was trapped, so I made them stay so I wouldn't be alone. The shadows moved closer, their hollow eyes filled with sorrow. The figures watched silently, their faces contorted with despair. Fa's body went limp, her eyes rolling back. Tun shook her desperately. Fa, wake up, stay with me. The girl's hollow eyes focused on Fa, her voice soft and pleading. She stayed just like the others, she'd be my friend. Min stepped forward, her face pale, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, this isn't right. You can't trap people, you can't make them stay. The girl's face twisted with anger, her voice echoing. They always leave, they always forget, but not this time. You'll all stay forever. The shadows surged forward, their hollow eyes glowing. The lost souls reached out, their hands cold and translucent, their faces filled with sorrow. Tun's voice was firm, his eyes blazing with determination. I won't let you take her. We're leaving, all of us. The girl's form twisted, her face contorted with rage. Her voice grew louder, the air vibrating with her anger. You can't leave, you belong to me. Min's hands trembled as she raised her camera. Her voice was shaky but determined. You were forgotten, you were left behind, but that doesn't mean you should trap others. You need to let go. The girl's hollow eyes flickered. Her form wavered, her face softening. Let go? Tun's grip on Fa tightened. You're hurting people because of your pain, but keeping them here won't change what happened. It won't stop the loneliness. The girl's eyes widened, her form shaking. The shadows around her began to shudder, their hollow eyes dimming. The lost souls looked at her, their faces softening, their eyes filled with understanding. Min took a step closer, her voice gentle. You don't have to be alone, but you have to let us go. You have to let them go. The girl's mouth opened, her voice trembling. I was so lonely, so scared. I didn't want to be forgotten. Tun's voice softened. We remember you now. You're not forgotten. You can rest now. The girl's form flickered, her body growing transparent. Her eyes filled with tears, her voice a whisper. I can rest, Mint nodded, her tears falling freely. Yes, you can rest. It's okay to let go. The girl's body began to glow, her form breaking apart into light. Her face softened, her hollow eyes turning gentle. She looked at Fa, her lips forming a small, sad smile. Thank you for playing with me. Her body dissolved into light, scattering into the darkness. The shadows retreated, the hollow-eyed figures fading away. The air grew warmer, the darkness lifting. The forest reappeared around them, the sky brightening. The path stretched before them, clear and open. Fa's eyes fluttered open, her body relaxing. She looked at Tun, her voice weak. Tun, what happened? Tun's shoulders sagged with relief, his voice shaking. You're okay, we're okay, it's over. Beam collapsed to his knees, his body trembling. We made it out. Mint looked around, her eyes wide with wonder. The forest was peaceful, the sun breaking through the trees. Her camera beeped, the battery dying. She looked down at the last photo of the girl's face, smiling softly, her eyes gentle, her form glowing with light. Mint whispered, her voice filled with emotion. She's free, she's finally at peace. They stood there in silence, the sunlight warm on their faces. The forest was quiet, the shadows gone. But the echo of the girl's voice lingered, soft and mournful, carried by the wind. Thank you for remembering me. The wind rustled the leaves, gentle and comforting. And then, all was still. Whispers behind that the journey began as a thrilling escape from the chaos of city life. A group of 5 university friends, Nate, Nin, Beam, Fa, and Tun, planned a weekend camping trip deep within the dense jungles of northern Thailand. They were adventurous, young, and eager to explore the uncharted trails away from crowded tourist spots. Nate, the most daring of the group, had found the location, a hidden campsite by a tranquil river, surrounded by towering trees and lush greenery. "No one goes there. It's perfect," he had said with a grin, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Beam, always the cautious one, hesitated. "Are you sure it's safe? What if we get lost?" Mint rolled her eyes, playfully nudging him. "Don't be such a scaredy cat. That's what makes it fun." Tun, the easygoing joker of the group, laughed. "Besides, with Nate's navigation skills, we'll be fine, right?" After days of planning, they loaded their backpacks, packed with tents, food, and supplies, and set off early on a Saturday morning. The drive was long, winding through mountain roads and dirt paths. Laughter filled the car as they sang along to old pop songs, the excitement buzzing in the air. As they reached the edge of the forest, the trees loomed above them, ancient and silent. The sun filtered through the dense canopy, casting dappled shadows on the ground. "This is it," Nate announced, his voice echoing slightly. "We hike from here. It's about 3 hours to the campsite." They stood at the trailhead, looking into the dark depths of the jungle. The air was thick with humidity, and a faint breeze rustled the leaves. Min took a deep breath. "Let's do this." And with that, they stepped into the forest, unaware of the ancient presence lurking within the shadows, waiting for them to arrive. The jungle was alive with the sounds of nature, the chirping of insects, the distant call of birds, and the rustling of leaves. Vines hung low from the branches, and the ground was covered in a thick layer of fallen leaves and moss. As they made their way deeper, the path grew narrow, overgrown with ferns and roots that twisted like serpents. The air grew cooler, the light dimmer. The ancient trees stood tall, their gnarled branches intertwining, forming a canopy that blocked out the sun. Beam shivered. "It's colder here." Nate shrugged. "It's just the shade. We're deeper into the jungle now." Fa snapped pictures, her camera clicking softly. But as she reviewed the photos, she frowned. In the shadows, there seemed to be faint shapes blurred, almost human-like. She shook her head, blaming the low light. Tun noticed her expression. "Everything okay?" Fa forced a smile. "Yeah, just my camera acting weird." They continued onward, unaware of the legends tied to the very ground they walked on. Local villagers spoke of whispers in the night, voices that echoed through the trees, calling out to travelers by name. It was said that those who responded were never seen again. The spirits were believed to be the souls of those who had been lost in the jungle, forever wandering, seeking company. The elders warned, never answer the whispers. Never look back, but the group knew nothing of these tales. And as they reached the campsite by the river, they laughed, setting up their tents, oblivious to the eyes watching from the darkness. That night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the jungle grew still. The air turned cold, and the shadows seemed to move, creeping closer. And then the whispering began, soft, faint, just behind the tents. "Mint, Mint." Mint froze, her face pale. Did someone just call my name?" The others looked up, confusion on their faces. "No, we didn't hear anything." But Mint was certain. It was a whisper, gentle and cold, right behind her tent. She turned slowly, flashlight trembling in her hand, shining it at the empty darkness. Nothing was there. But the whisper came again, clearer this time. "Mint, come here." Her heart raced, her skin prickling with fear. The voice was familiar. It sounded like her mother. But her mother was miles away, safe at home. Mint's mouth went dry. This isn't funny, guys." Beam's face grew serious. "We're not joking." The whisper echoed once more, softer, more distant. "Mint, don't you love me?" Tears welled up in her eyes. It was definitely her mother's voice. But why? She stood up, her feet moving on their own, drawn towards the source of the sound, her heart pounding. "Mint." Nate grabbed her arm, his grip tight. "Where are you going?" She looked at him, her eyes glazed. "I have to go, she's calling me." Nate's face went pale. "Who?" Mint's lips trembled. "My mom." The group fell silent, the cold air pressing in. The whispering had stopped. The jungle was still, too still. Nate shook his head. "Mint, your mom is at home." "There's no one here." Min's eyes widened, realization dawning on her. She looked at the darkness behind her tent, dread filling her chest. If that wasn't her mother, then what was calling her name? A chill ran down her spine as the whisper echoed one last time, soft and hollow. "Min, come play with me." This time, the voice was different, twisted, mocking. Min stumbled back, her heart racing, her mind screaming. Whatever was out there, it wasn't human. And it wanted her. The jungle had grown eerily quiet. Not a single insect chirped, and the air was heavy, as if holding its breath. The group huddled around the campfire, their faces pale, eyes wide with fear. Min sat closest to the flames, her body trembling. She clutched her knees to her chest, her eyes darting around the shadows. The whispering had stopped, but the memory of that voice, cold, familiar, yet disturbingly wrong, echoed in her mind. Beam broke the silence. We should leave. This place, it's not right." Nate shook his head, trying to stay composed. "It's too dangerous to hike out in the dark. The trail's narrow, and one wrong step." He didn't need to finish the sentence. They all knew the risks. Fa hugged her camera, her voice barely above a whisper. "I took pictures on the way here. I saw shapes in the shadows." Tun's face paled. "Shapes? What do you mean?" Fa scrolled through the photos on her camera, her fingers shaking. She showed them an image, a snapshot of the trail surrounded by trees. But in the shadows, barely visible, were faint outlines. Human-like figures, their faces blurred, bodies twisted unnaturally. Mint's breath hitched. Those were behind us." Fa nodded, her eyes brimming with fear. "I thought it was just bad lighting, but they're in every photo." Nate's jaw tightened. "We stay together. No one wanders off. We leave at first light." He tried to sound brave, but his voice wavered. The night dragged on, the fire crackling softly. The jungle watched in silence. To break the tension, Tun spoke up. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about spirits in the jungle." The group turned to him, desperate for anything to distract them from the creeping dread. Tun's eyes flicked nervously to the darkness. "She said the forest is alive, that spirits roam, searching for company. They call out to travelers, mimicking voices of loved ones. If you follow the voice, you'll be lost forever." Min hugged herself tighter. Why would they do that? Tun swallowed hard. They're lonely, trapped between worlds. They want to take someone's place to be remembered. Beam shuddered. "That's just a story, right? Just a superstition." Tun didn't answer. His grandmother's voice echoed in his mind. "Never answer the call. Never follow the whisper. They will take you and you will never leave." The wind rustled the leaves, whispering softly. The flames flickered, casting shadows that danced around them. Nate stood up, throwing more wood into the fire. "Stories are just stories. We just need to get through the night. Stick together, and we'll be fine." But as he spoke, the fire crackled, sending a shower of sparks into the air. The shadows grew longer, darker, and just beyond the reach of the light something moved. Fa's eyes widened. Did you see that?" The others turned, staring into the darkness. There, just behind the tents, a silhouette stood, motionless, a faint, human-like shape. But its limbs were too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. Its eyes gleamed, reflecting the firelight. Beam's voice was barely a whisper. Who is that?" No one answered. The figure didn't move. It simply watched, its face a blank, hollow void. Mint's heart pounded. She recognized the silhouette, the shape of the shoulders, the curve of the neck. It was her mother's figure, but her mother wasn't here. The shadow slowly lifted a hand, beckoning. The movement was jerky, unnatural, like a puppet on strings. Min choked back a scream. That's not my mom." The whisper came again, soft, haunting, echoing through the trees. "Min, come here, don't you miss me?" Tun grabbed her arm, pulling her back. "Don't listen, don't answer it." The shadow's head tilted further, an impossible angle, almost upside down. Its body shuddered, twitching as if struggling to maintain its form. Nate stepped forward, flashlight in hand. "Who are you? What do you want?" His voice wavered, fear seeping through. The figure didn't reply. It simply lowered its hand, its body sagging, folding in on itself like paper collapsing. It crumpled to the ground, the shadows consuming it, and then it was gone. Only the faint echo of the whisper remained, carried by the wind. "Min, I'm so lonely." Mint collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Stop, please just stop. Fa moved to comfort her, her own hands trembling. It's trying to trick you, don't listen. Beam's eyes darted around the campsite, fear overwhelming him. Nate, what do we do? Nate's face was pale, his confidence shattered. We wait for dawn. Just don't listen to the voices. No matter what they say. They huddled closer together, the fire between them and the darkness. But the shadows watched, waiting patiently. The whispers would return, they always did. And as the wind howled through the trees, faint voices echoed, calling each of their names one by one. The night seemed endless. The fire crackled, its light flickering weakly against the encroaching darkness. The whispers had stopped, but an eerie silence hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Mint sat close to Fa, her hands trembling. It had sounded just like her. The voice, it was perfect, but wrong. Her eyes were wide, haunted. Fa wrapped an arm around her, trying to be strong despite her own fear. It's trying to trick you. It knows who you miss, who you love. That's how it lures you. Beam's eyes scanned the darkness, flashlight clutched tightly in his hand. Why is this happening? What is it? His voice was shaky, desperate for answers. Tun looked down, his face pale. I didn't want to say this before, but my grandmother told me about them. The hungry shadows, their spirits trapped between worlds. They want to live again, to take someone's place. Nate's jaw tightened. Then why don't they just attack? Why play these games? Tun shuddered. They can't hurt us unless we go to them. They need us to come willingly. If you follow the voice, you belong to them. Beam's face went pale. Then what about those shapes in the photos? Were they other people? Tun's voice was barely above a whisper. They were once. A cold breeze swept through the campsite, making the flames dance wildly. Shadows stretched and twisted along the ground, morphing into distorted, human-like figures before melting back into the darkness. The jungle was alive, watching, waiting. They sat in silence, backs pressed together, eyes fixed on the shadows. The fire was their only shield, a fragile barrier against the encroaching night. Then, the whisper came again, soft and mournful, carried by the wind. Beam, help me, it's cold, so cold. Beam's head snapped up, his eyes wide with shock. He knew that voice. He would recognize it anywhere. And Nam. His voice cracked, disbelief and sorrow mingling. Fa grabbed his arm. Don't. It's lying. Beam shook his head, tears brimming in his eyes. No, that's her. That's Nam's voice. I'd know it anywhere. The whisper grew louder, filled with pain. Beam, please don't leave me here. He took a step toward the darkness, his body trembling. Nam, where are you? Nate blocked his path, his face firm. That's not her. Nam's gone, remember. The accident. Beam's shoulders sagged, grief washing over him. Nam, his little sister, who had died last year. The pain was still raw, a wound that never healed. The voice wept, a heartbreaking sob. Why did you leave me, Beam? It's so dark, I'm so scared. He broke down, his knees hitting the dirt. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The others watched helplessly, knowing they couldn't let him go. Mint hugged herself tightly. It's using our memories, our pain to trick us. Tun's face was grim. If he follows the voice, it'll take him. Nate held Beam back, gripping his shoulders. That's not Nam. It never was. But Beam struggled, his grief overwhelming his reason. I have to help her, I can't leave her again. The shadows shifted, drawing closer, reaching out with long, skeletal fingers. They wrapped around the trees, coiling like snakes. The voice grew louder, pleading. Beam, please don't leave me alone. Fa's eyes widened. They're closing in. They're trying to pull him in. Nate gritted his teeth. We have to keep him here, no matter what. They held Beam back, anchoring him to reality, refusing to let him fall into the shadows' trap. The whispers turned angry, the voice distorting, growing deeper, more menacing. Why won't you come to me? Why did you abandon me? Beam sobbed, his heart breaking. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The shadows recoiled, hissing, their shapes writhing in fury. Their faces contorted, eyes glowing with malice. Mint closed her eyes, whispering a prayer. Please, please let this end. But the jungle did not answer. It watched, silent and hungry. Tun's voice cut through the chaos. It's feeding on our guilt, our regrets. That's why it knows our loved ones' voices, our memories. Fa's eyes widened. Then if we let go of the guilt, will it stop? Tun nodded, his face resolute. It only has power if we give it to them. We have to let go. Beam shook his head, tears streaming down his face. I can't let go of her. Nate's voice softened. Mom wouldn't want you to be trapped here to be lost. She'd want you to live. The words cut through Beam's pain, breaking the spell. His body sagged, and the shadows shrieked, their forms flickering like dying flames. The whispers grew desperate, the voices blending into a cacophony of anguish. Don't leave, stay with us, we're so lonely. Tun stepped forward, his voice strong. We're not yours. You can't have us. The shadows wailed, their bodies twisting, faces melting into grotesque shapes. They clawed at the earth, reaching out, but their fingers crumbled to dust. The jungle shook, the ground vibrating as the shadows were pulled back, retreating into the darkness. One by one, they vanished, swallowed by the trees. The voices faded, the air growing still once more. The fire burned steadily, its warmth chasing away the lingering cold. Nate collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Did we beat them? Tun nodded, his face pale but determined. They can't take what isn't given. We broke free. Beam looked up, his eyes red. She's really gone, isn't she? Fa hugged him tightly. But she'll always be with you in your heart. Mint wiped her tears, her voice shaking. Then we just have to survive the night. Dawn's not far now. They sat together, closer than before, united by their shared terror. But the jungle was quiet, its hunger momentarily sated. And as the first light of dawn touched the treetops, they knew the shadows would wait for the next travelers who wandered too far into their haunted domain. The darkness grew heavier as the whispers returned, now more desperate and furious. They circled the campsite, echoing from every direction. Voices of lost loved ones, old friends, and even their own voices distorted with anger and sorrow. Beam, you left me, you abandoned me. Fa, why didn't you save me? Nate, you're a coward. Mint, you never cared, you never loved me. The shadows danced just beyond the firelight, their twisted forms growing bolder. Their faces were pale, hollow-eyed, mouths stretched in silent screams. Tun's voice shook as he shouted, "Don't listen. They're trying to break us, trying to pull us in." The earth trembled beneath them, the trees creaked, their branches bending as if reaching down to grab the group. The jungle seemed alive, reacting to the shadows' anger. Beam struggled against his own mind, fighting the echoes of his sister's voice. "No, I didn't leave you, I never meant to." The shadow in front of him twisted, taking her shape. Her face was cold, her eyes empty. "You left me to die alone." Beam's body trembled, his spirit breaking. But Fa grabbed his arm, pulling him back. "No, it's lying. She's gone, that's not her." Beam's eyes cleared, his heart finally accepting the truth. "Nam, I love you, but you're gone and it's time I let you rest." The shadow's face contorted, its mouth stretching impossibly wide, before letting out a piercing wail. Its form shattered, scattering like ash in the wind. The others followed Beam's lead, confronting their shadows, releasing their guilt and regrets. Fa faced her shadow, which wore her father's face, twisted with disappointment. "I did my best, I won't carry this shame anymore." Min cried as she saw her childhood friend, who had passed away years before. "I loved you, I miss you, but it wasn't my fault." Nate's shadow snarled, wearing his own face, twisted in anger and fear. "I'm not a coward. I'm still standing, still fighting." As they each spoke their truth, the shadows recoiled, their shapes collapsing, faces melting. Their screams filled the air, a symphony of anguish and defeat. The shadows were being torn apart, dragged back into the earth, the jungle reclaiming them. Tun shouted over the chaos, "They're losing their hold. We're breaking their curse." But the largest shadow remained, its form shifting and growing, towering over them. Its face was an amalgamation of every person they had ever lost, every regret they had buried. Its voice was a chorus, 1,000 whispers blending into one. "Stay with us, don't leave us, it's cold, so cold." It lunged at them, darkness swirling like a vortex, trying to pull them in. The ground split open, roots clawing at their feet. Nate held onto Beam, screaming, "Don't let go." Tun shouted, "The fire, it's the only thing they fear." With desperate speed, they grabbed branches from the fire, waving the flames at the shadow. It shrieked, recoiling as the light burned its form. Fa's voice was fierce, her fear replaced with determination. "You can't have us, we're not yours." They advanced together, brandishing the burning sticks, forcing the shadow back. Its form flickered, faces twisting in pain. The dawn was breaking, the first rays of sunlight piercing through the trees. The shadow let out a final, agonized wail before disintegrating into smoke, swept away by the wind. The jungle shuddered, the earth sealing the cracks, the darkness receding as sunlight filled the clearing. They stood in silence, the whispers finally gone. The morning was eerily quiet, the jungle's ancient presence no longer hostile. The air was fresh, the sunlight warm. Yet, a lingering coldness remained in their hearts. Beam sank to his knees, tears streaming down his face. It's over, they're gone. Tun looked around, his expression weary. We broke the curse, but this place, it's haunted. It always will be. Fa's voice was hoarse. They were trapped by their own pain, their own regrets. Nade looked at the ashes of the fire, his face solemn. And they wanted us to join them ... to never leave. Mint hugged herself, shivering despite the sun's warmth. We almost did. They almost took us. Tun placed a hand on her shoulder. But we fought back. We didn't give in to our fears. Beam looked at his friends, his voice steady. We live for those we lost and for ourselves. They packed up the camp in silence, their movements slow, exhausted. As they left the clearing, none of them looked back. The jungle watched them go, silent and unmoving. But just as they reached the edge of the trees, the wind blew, carrying a faint whisper. Don't forget us. They froze, their hearts skipping a beat, but they didn't turn around. They walked on, stepping out of the shadows and into the light. The jungle remained, ancient and haunted, waiting for the next travelers who dared to enter its depths.